Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to call to order this emergency special meeting on this Thursday, March 26, 2020 at 2:33 p.m. And we'll see how we're going to talk kind of slow here to see how things are working. Are we working good and everything going well?
Hey, Sheena, I'm having trouble hearing him.
Oh dear. Okay.
I don't know how you're going to solve that.
I don't know.
I can hear you pretty good now if you're talking into the mic or whatever.
Okay. We will try to talk better.
Can you hear me now, Commissioner?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. I'll try to stay as close as we can to the microphones, if you would, too.
Chris,
Commissioner Wall.
you're good? Nobody's said anything bad? Okay, great. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do roll call because of the way we're doing this meeting. So Brian Baird,
Here.
Kevin Walls,
Here.
Ron West.
Yeah,
Yeah, great. So pursuant to recent guidance from Governor Holcomb and the Indiana Public Access Counselor, Commissioner West will be participating via phone. This meeting is called pursuant to Indiana Code 5-14-1.5-5D to address disruption of governmental activity. Notice was given to the news media and was posted pursuant thereto. Gentlemen, on your agenda is building access.
hey, Sheena,
Yes.
you're a little bit clearer and a little slower
Okay, I'll try to do slower.
because it's getting garbled.
Okay.
Okay, we were just basically at that point in time doing the legalities that we have to do for the meeting, sir, so we're all good. As our county attorney, Sheena said, we are here to discuss in open discussion some issues that I think have brought it to a conclusion that it may be time for us to look at closing our buildings to the public. With some incidents that have gone on that I don't want to discuss and some things that we've had and seen in the area, and also for me monitoring the public coming in and out of the building. Today I noticed some things where I saw people actually come in the door of the building that did no business, that just kind of came in, looked around, and then went back outside. Those things are a little concerning to me, as not only protecting the people inside this building, but also protecting the public that are coming in this building from those people that may be just coming in to do things other than business. And not that they don't have the right to be in here, they do. It's a public building, but we just have some special issues right now that we're dealing with, and I think that we need to be prudent, not only in protecting our people. I'll open it up to discussion.
Ron, you got anything?
Oh, well, the only thing, when you say you're closing it to the public, so somebody who's got some county business they need to do, I'm assuming that the only way they can do it is via telephone or email or fax.
For those special occurrences, Commissioner, where they would need to come in, there would be the ability of the elected officials and department heads to be able to set up appointments for those people to come in. But then at that point in time, we can ask some questions such as, do you have any illnesses, things like that, that we can legally ask. But it would just be we would want to ask people to do everything they can via the internet, via telephone. And if they can't resolve it by that, then please call the specific department that you would need to discuss with, and then set up an appointment to come into the building to meet with those people. At least that way we're aware of who's in the building and where they're going.
We've kind of been under that premise a little bit here for the last few days. Have they, the different, the auditor, the treasurer, or whoever, been able to do much work in that regard, to doing it that way? How successful has that been for them? Do you have any input there?
It's been somewhat successful, but I think the auditors here and the treasurer are sitting outside. But I think in conversations with him in the past and with what I see coming in out of the building, we've slowed it down some. But we still have a lot of people coming into the building that could probably do business otherwise if we would just maybe promote that a little bit more.
Mhm. So I guess the question is, how long would we be proposing to do what you're suggesting?
I think the governor's request is to April 7th, if that is correct, Sheena?
Yeah, the executive order for the stay at home is in effect until April 6th at 11:59 p.m. So that would mean you'd be open for business on Tuesday the 7th.
You say April 6th?
Correct, yes, a week from Monday.
And the opening of business would be April 7th, morning of that April 7th, at this point in time.
Right, we subject to change, of course.
Well, I understand what we're trying to do. I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I just am in a meeting this morning, and then I've questioned this before. We've witnessed over the last, well, since March 10th or 6th or whenever the first case was diagnosed, we witnessed the increase in people who contracted the virus, and we know that exponentially that's going to grow to a much larger number in the next few weeks and months. So my question to others has been, at what point do you say we just got to get back to trying to live a normal life? You would logically assume that if your exposure today is, we'll say 3, and we know the increase in people that are going to have it over the next month, and your increase is going to go to 7 or 8 at that point, and then a month after that it's going to go to 10 or 12. Logic says that you're going to have a bigger chance of contracting the virus and having people subjected to the potential 2 months from now than you are today. And so I think we need to be prepared to talk about what we're going to do at that point. We can't go on forever closing everything down and slowing everything down and shutting everything down. At some point, it's got to start up. And if you buy into what my logic, that you're going to be faced with a greater potential 2 months from now than you are today, what are we planning on doing at that point in time? I'm not trying to argue or debate the issue. I'm just trying to say, I'm thinking out a month or 2 months. So let's just say we get to the governor's point of April 6th. Well, you know damn well that you're going to have more people with the virus, there's going to be more people carrying it, and more people dead as a result of it. And so what do we do then? If we got twice as many then as we do today, do we take twice as many drastic measures, or what do we do? That's a question.
And I think that's a good question, Commissioner. And I think you know me well enough that this is not a decision that I took lightly in bringing this forward and making this recommendation. But I also know there's issues and circumstances that some are not aware of that are going to create some more issues for the county. And as you said, the test, and we've got more tests now, so we can test more people. And as we test more people are going to test positive. And that's going to increase that issue that we have at this point. But my hope is that if those do increase and those positive tests do increase, that will also raise the awareness of the people in Johnson County of what's going on. Because I think right now, and I don't demean anything or anyone, but I think right now people just aren't seeing the level that we're starting to reach And you know, there's information being publicly released now about some more positive cases that have come to the county and that are close in distance to this area. And I think we're not only looking to protect the people inside this building, we're looking at protecting the people that are coming into this building. And that's a tough decision to make, I know, because I've struggled with it, as you know, from previous meetings that we've had when it's come up. But this is not something that I'm taking lightly. I'm hoping that when it comes to this date, we can look at this and in that make good common sense decisions, and we don't panic, and we don't take things for granted either, but then look at those decisions at that time as more information comes. Again, this target moves every single hour, and it's hard to try to protect things that far in the future if we don't know what those things are going to be. So I just ask that we be patient, not only as elected officials and department heads, but we be patient as people and citizens in this county, in the understanding that all we're trying to do is help people. We're not trying to take their rights away from them, or the fact that, you know, this is a public building. I get all that. But then also as a human being, I've got to think about the people we're going to affect if we don't do something. And that's where I've struggled to come to this point. And I've been very engaged and involved in what's going on around the county as far as what goes on. So believe you me, this is not something that I desire to do just because I desire to do it. It's something I think that's really, really necessary.
Yeah, you know, as long as we can still provide the service that the public needs, that admittedly at some kind of inconvenience to them, but that's not a big deal in the light of what we're facing. Yeah, I agree with all that. I don't have a problem with that as long as we're able to still function from the government side. But what I posed earlier was just what's on my mind and what I'm thinking about. At some point, that we're going to reach that point where we're going to have to say, what do we do in the grand scheme and not the short term? And that's what I'm concerned about right now. But closing the building, you know, restricting the access to inspection of those who come in, or being able to vet them, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, and again, it's to protect everybody. It's not just to protect certain individuals or any of that. It's really, you know, my concern is Johnson County and outside of the county, but my immediate concern is Johnson County, because that's where I'm an elected official, as well as you are too, and so is Commissioner West and the people sitting in here. I think it's our obligation to make sure that we make more awareness, which I think we can do as we go through this. But then this also gives us a week here to see how we function in that capacity as a county. And if we see and realize there's a weakness in that it's not going to work for the public as well as it should, then we have to reconsider some things and look at that as it comes. And I think we're all, from what I've known in the past, that all three of us and all our elected officials are pretty sensible people. I don't think we're going to get out of control here and not do our jobs. But there may be a weakness in doing this, and we may see that weakness. And if we do, then we have to deal with that at the time, if that makes sense, sir.
Oh yeah, I think, you know, I keep trying to find some good in everything. I think some of the good that's going to come out of it is, like we're doing right now, teleconferencing and video conferencing, some of those things, opening up some of our public meetings to where everybody doesn't have to be in attendance. They can participate in one media mode or the other, and looking at ways that maybe our various departments will be able to streamline or provide better service to the public because of what innovations we come up with. So I think there's going to be some good come out of that. No problem.
sir, as we go
Yeah,
through this.
yeah.
But as we
And you know
make,
me, I've talked about, I even questioned the mayor, Mayor Barnett this morning in that meeting when he was talking about, I mean, he's into the full, and I don't want to speak for him, but he's in more of a full lockdown mode than I am, of course. And he had mentioned closing some of their recreational facilities and that to the public. And my question to him was, well, at what point do you decide that those people working in those facilities should no longer be on the public payroll? That's a question that I brought up with both you and Kevin before, and that's something that potentially we're going to have to look at. So I keep looking down the road, trying to figure out in my mind how I'm going to personally deal with those things when the time comes. And so then it goes back to, you know, closing facilities or access to facilities to the general public, and a steep decline. If we see a steep decline in the work that department's doing, at some point, somebody's going to have to come to a reckoning with that in regard to keeping people on the payroll or going to some kind of a layoff. Now, the flip side of that, we talked about that before, this also is that between the federal government and state government, they're going to give the ranch away anyway, so that might be a moot point.
that could be a moot point. And again, a lot of what we're going to be dealing with in the near future is going to be reactions to what the federal government does and the state does. So there's a lot of things that are contingencies that we can't foresee. But I agree, we need to look to the future and what may be happening. As far as the people here and the work that they do, I guess I have a confidence in the people and elected officials and department heads on that. And if we see that there's an area that maybe the people don't have to work the full hours because of the way we're doing things a little differently, I think that our elected officials and department heads will make us aware of that. I don't think we're going to be looking for it. I think they'll be talking to us about it, and I honestly believe that. And I want whoever would be happening to listen and the people in this room to understand, I didn't become commissioner because I wanted a title. This has been the worst job I've ever had in my life. But I do this because I care about the county and the people. And these decisions are tough. I don't want to harm people. I don't want to harm our employees. I don't want to harm the public. I want to do everything I can to be positive and do everything I can to protect the people in this county. And that's why I've come to this conclusion.
Well, I think we're all in agreement with that. You know, we're obviously not doing it for the big bucks.
Obviously. It costs money to be here, doesn't it? Commissioner Walls?
Oh, you've heard mine in closed door meetings. I gotta lean in a little bit.
So Ron can hear you.
Can you hear that?
I can hear him if he speaks a little slower, yeah.
A little slower. You know, my position's always been time on this thing. I mean, the federal government's buying time, the state's buying time, and I think we need to buy some time. And what we need to do is put some protocols in place to protect our employees. You know, their health and well-being is the heart and soul of this county. So we need to do what we need to do to protect those people. It's going to be an inconvenience for the public. I do understand that, but I don't know anybody in this nation or this world right now that is not inconvenienced by this virus. So, I mean, my mind's pretty much made up what I really want to do. I mean, we can debate and talk about it all day long, but I think the quicker and sooner we get to this decision and take some decisive action, I think the better off everybody's going to be.
So what we're deciding today is just to limit public access to which buildings? To the courthouse and the
Here,
And
I'll
the
do a
annex.
summary.
all of them?
I can do a summary. Ready?
Please. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
What?
I'm summarizing for you.
She is doing a summary for you.
Okay, so we're talking about We've got 3 buildings that are already closed to the public. That's the extension office, the museum, and the park buildings. So we are talking about the West Annex, Highway Department, Animal Shelter, Sheriff's Office, Jail, Training Center, Dispatch, and Health Department.
Well,
Pursuant-
that's courts.
the courts are here, and I think that they are under their Supreme Court order at this point that they would remain under. Is that, okay, I'm getting a thumbs up from Judge Reasoner, so we'll go with that.
That was a visual.
Yes, that was a visual. So that would be, I need you, commissioners, to come up with an effective date and time to close those buildings to the public, an end date. And I understood that you want to give discretion to elected officials and department heads to allow scheduling appointments to conduct essential business that cannot be conducted remotely. And that's what I need in the motion.
I'm gonna make the motion to close the public buildings at 3 p.m. on March 26th, 2020 is my motion. And
Open date.
I really don't want to issue a date at this time for reopening. I think there's too many variables without us coming back and assembling back in public again. When that date comes, which I'm sure it's gonna be close to what the state, we're gonna mirror what the state does, and I don't think anybody's got a roadmap where we're going on this. So I'm gonna leave that date right now open.
But would it be maybe to everyone's benefit to go ahead and set a date for a meeting
And
to
then
discuss
re-meeting.
that?
I would go
I
to
think you're
April
already
7th.
meeting on the first.
We're already
You
meeting
gotta
on
meet,
the
can we
first.
do an amendment on that, or is that
On what?
feasible? We've got an employee policy in place right now for this virus and affecting leave time, employee time, vacation, COVID days, all that. Do we want to move that to the 7th too, or do we want to reconvene on the 2nd or 1st of April and review that? I would like to see it move to stay in concert with the 7th. That would extend our
Okay,
days.
so hold up. The federal law goes into effect on April 2nd, so we can't change that date.
Okay,
We cannot.
so we'll be back here then.
On the first, we'll be back here.
And you can
We can rediscuss
You
it
can
at that time
reassess
too.
the end date then, if you'd like.
Okay.
And then, again, we'll have to meet again sometime on the 7th anyway, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken, correct?
I'll
So-
retract that second. I would just like to make the buildings closed effectively until April 7th.
Okay, and with the caveat that appointments can be made.
And as long as the judges are working with what they need to work with as far as emergency hearings and just to keep that safe, I think you are, as I said, under the Supreme
They're
Court
under the
order.
Supreme
So,
Court, so.
okay.
Commissioner, and to make sure you understood that motion is to close the building to public other than by appointment at 3:00 p.m. today. And then to reopen at this point on April 7th, the morning of, so I would assume 8:00 on April 7th. Do you understand that motion, sir?
Yes.
I have a motion.
And we always, we can always review it if we need to, if things change or whatever.
Yeah, we seem to have a lot of special meetings here lately.
I'll go ahead and second Kevin's motion, then I got one other thing I'd like to bring up real quick while we're on this.
Okay, let's go ahead and get through the vote and then we can do that, sir, if you don't mind. And Sheena has a couple things too. So I have a motion and a second as presented to close at 3:00 p.m. today. I'm gonna try to figure out a way to word this better. And then the building will be closed except for appointment only, going through the department heads and elected officials, and we will officially reopen at this point on April 7th at 8:00 a.m. That is the motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Let's go on to, you want to let Ron?
It doesn't matter. I know there are a couple of questions. Juvenile detention would be under the courts. So whoever asked that question. And then you know how long the closure is going to be. So as far as inter-county work, so employees who have to come to the West Annex, for example, for mail, claims, etc., do you want them to contact Jason to get access by key card for those tasks?
Either that or we can put a drop box outside.
Yeah, that, with mail that we distribute to
If
them.
if they communicate through this next week or so.
Yeah, well, let's just, if they can maybe communicate with the front office, and I assume at that point in time, and let's just kind of see how it goes maybe on that. If they're employees, don't they have key cards?
I think they have key cards for certain buildings, but not everybody has access to this building.
We could instruct Jason to give one person from each of those buildings access via key card. Would that work for the elected officials if we could do that for people outside of the building? Would that be an issue?
I know Michelle and I are always here. We'll be happy to work with them with a phone call, meet them at the door and do whatever, if that helps it.
Was that
We,
clear?
I said, you or I normally always here, so I said, I believe we could work with them as far as the calling.
And opening the door, yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
absolutely.
and let's, if we don't mind, maybe leave it this way, that we'll make a decision on that very quickly. But the options are either do it by phone, scheduling with the treasurer, the auditor, or if we see it feasible that it might work through a key card for pre-named people, then we'll take care of that.
Okay.
That way.
Sounds good.
Would that work?
So,
Anything else?
Commissioner West, you had
go ahead.
something else, or?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up, I know you guys all saw what Angel Weiser had proposed in as much as letting those, the short-term employees that we have who haven't accrued any real sick time benefit to amount to a whole lot, to extend in advance for bank, let them bank 2.5 days of sick days. I have one person contact me, a CO out at the jail, come down with all the symptoms and was not tested, and probably has not got the virus, he got the flu or whatever. Anyway, they sent him home and he had no real benefit time. And I think we've got a couple other cases that are comparable to that. I just think in this particular situation that we'd be remiss if we didn't do something like that to at least help these people that have only been there a short period of time. I guess if they take advantage of it and then they leave us at some point and they don't earn it back with the amount of work days, and that's just a risk we run. But nevertheless, I think we need to do something for those people, and that's kind of what I talked about before in one of our meetings is to let people go ahead and soul bank. You remember that term, Sheena?
What?
Go ahead and let them soul bank. That time. So anyway, I just like to see you guys think about that, and let's see if maybe that's not something we could do.
Commissioner,
It's not something that's going to be spread over 50 or 100 employees. You're talking 3 or 4 maybe at the most right now.
and I understand what you're saying, sir, but are you referring, because I'm kind of confused on what we're talking about, are you referring to the email that we received from County Attorney Sheena Johnson? Or is this something different than the email that I?
Well, I think Sheena sent it out to us, but it was from Angel Weiser up in the recorder's office.
Okay.
Give her credit.
Oh, and that's fine. I was confused on what we were talking about. I know we received an email from our county attorney about giving some sick days. I guess I didn't realize it was for just short-term people, though. I thought it was
I'm not
for
sure
all
what he means
employees.
by short-term.
New employees,
They
I think.
don't have anything built up.
I think he's saying just for those who are short-term that have nothing built up at this point in time. Is that what you're saying, Commissioner West?
Yeah, they're just kind of caught in a catch-22. They haven't been with the county long enough to accrue. They only accrue a quarter a day every so many days. I forget the ratio right now. And so they can't take it. They don't have anything to take advantage of under this situation. Now, obviously, if they test positive, or we can give them that 4 days of COVID that we extended. But if in this particular guy's place or situation, the sheriff sends him home because he don't want him being in the jail if he's potentially got the virus. And I can understand the sheriff's concern there, but at the same time, if the guy doesn't have it and he needs to get back to work, can't sit at home for 14 days and not have any pay.
I mean, I'd be willing to look at it on a case-by-case basis. If you say there's only a handful, I really don't have a problem, and I think we should extend a helping hand to these employees that are new hires. I know it's a jail, they've been trained, they've gone through training, they don't want to lose that by having to hire somebody else. I know he's always short-staffed out there, so.
Well, but I think if,
Wow,
here, keep pulling it out like
there
that.
you go.
That way you don't lean back. I think if we're gonna do something like that, though, we don't have a lot of time for discussion because it's gonna become really currently quick.
I think the discussion's happening right now.
Okay, if that's what you're saying, then I'm
That's
okay
what
with
I'm
it.
saying.
I know we're gonna have this happen soon and very, very quickly, and I know the sheriff's dealing with some of these type issues right now, and there's probably some other elected officials who are gonna be dealing with these issues right now. So I think if we can come up with a unified motion on this, that we can maybe put forth. Yes, I do, but go ahead, put the microphone in front of you. So Commissioner West can hear you.
Am I, okay. Whatever you decide, I think, like you stated, everything is wonderful. This Pam Burton, Johnson County Auditor. The auditor's office will be implementing these policies, and you will give us clear direction on what to do. One of the issues that we've come up against here is who determines whether it's a COVID situation or sinuses or a cough, or I just think you look funny and need to go home. Is that the directors? Is that the elected officials? Is that a physician? Is that a person? We don't,
We trust our people now to do that on their own without us making that decision for them. So I think we would have, if we're hiring these people, obviously we have some faith in them or we wouldn't be hiring them, I would think.
so
If they've gone through the
no question.
process. I would like to see there not be that. I think we just cause some dissension, I guess, when that would happen. But if we were questioning every employee that took a day off for those reasons, I could see that. We're talking what total, 2.5 days or 2.25 days? What is it?
That's
And it's
the-
only for a handful of people.
2.5
It's not large.
I
Honestly, it's
understand, I
growing every
understand
day.
the look, I understand the look.
Growing every day.
Yeah.
With
And
the
I
newer
understand.
employees,
I don't know.
we'll,
Yeah,
I mean, without having the actual facts in front of us, it's hard to make a decision, but I think we're all conscious of what's going on. And if it does continue to grow and it does become a problem, then we'll take other actions. But I think this is meant for the newer, higher employees
correct.
to give them some time. So if somebody's been here for 5 years and they're trying to do this, that's enough.
And
Okay.
if we find it's being abused, we can stop it very quickly. And we would have some serious discussion, I think, with those employees. that
So
are abusing
basically
that.
just a case by case basis.
Right.
We'll look at them.
Because if they're gonna abuse it, do we really want them here as an employee anyway, would be my opinion.
But case by case, because like you said, each one will be different, so it'll be your decision in the long run.
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is it going to create hardships on you?
COVID-19 is
Yeah,
gonna
and they
be.
say that the 2.5 days wouldn't be applicable to those who've got days already, especially if they've maxed out on their accrual. It's just for the new hires, the short-term people, so.
Okay, and I'll go ahead and kind of summarize this, I think.
Good.
Okay, I'm gonna try. I think what you are proposing is for those employees who do not have any sick time banked up, that their sick time that would accrue through December 31st, which is why we keep saying about 2.5 days based on how much time is left in the year, would accrue immediately rather than month by month. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just, we're giving them, we're letting them take advantage of it now before they've earned it.
But again, I think we need to clarify in that motion, it would be a case by case, and can we make that maybe by request of the elected official or director?
I was gonna ask that
Department
by,
head? Would that,
by,
Yeah.
can we
by
do that?
Monday into
And
business
that way,
day.
the elected officials or the
It might
department
change.
heads who are dealing with these employees will have a better feel for
Who the
how
new hires
who
are.
they are and how they would use those days. Yes, I think if we did that, gave that discretion to them to request that, that would be fantastic motion.
I'd like to give that by like the end of the day on Monday. If that can all be.
I know Rise after Monday,
Case by case,
you know.
as it comes
They
in.
might
We need
have
to
a
know
need
how
for
many
it.
we're dealing with. I mean, they say a handful. I mean, the elected officials and department heads are gonna know who these individuals are, and they can get a list put together.
I think we have one this pay period.
But, you know, if we're gonna do it by case situation, they should be able to just let us know as it goes.
That's fine.
I mean, that's,
I just don't wanna stretch
No,
it
no.
out for
we don't want to
month
come
or
up
3
with this
weeks
great
and
big
4
huge
weeks,
list.
and you're gonna end up
I
with this huge
understand.
list. That's why I wanted to give a time frame on this, that they know who they're dealing with. And
But again, I would hope our elected officials and department heads would be looking at that a little more wisely.
so,
And
can we roll that into some kind of motion there?
Doesn't it mean?
I think we're just asking out loud.
yeah, I think the motion would be that we would allow the department heads and elected officials of new short-term employees to request to the commissioners for 2.5
Up to 2.5.
up to 2.5 days of sick pay be given to those people at the discretion of the commissioners, the department heads, and the elected officials.
So basically, it would be loaded up front, and it would not accrue on their anniversary date every month for the rest of the year.
Right.
Of course, sick time is not paid out upon separation.
That's normal
I
policy
caveat.
though, right?
I know, I'm just
Okay, so we're good.
bringing it up.
I like for you to bring that up.
Okay.
Yes,
So I'll roll that
Jim
into
Kirk
a
would say,
motion.
you keep regulating those things, please.
I'll move to approve that motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second as presented in that lengthy discussion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Any other business?
The only thing I want to say is thank you to all the elected officials and department heads that have worked through this with us this far. Hopefully this will help in you operating moving forward more efficiently and safely. So that's all I wanted to say.
And I want to thank everybody for their patience. And again, when I say everybody, I mean the citizens of Johnson County too, because I think they have been really patient through all this and that they understand. Most of them that I've talked to really understand the position that we're put in and how serious and how difficult these decisions are to make. And I do appreciate the ones that have come to me and thanked me and said, we know what you're going through and we appreciate you doing that for us. So thank you very much to those people out there. We appreciate it. We usually only get the other end of that. So I do appreciate the positive that we get sometimes. Anything else? If not,
I'm moving for adjournment.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I can't believe how well you're hearing, by the way. We're adjourned.